Hello and welcome back to Clickbait. I'm Matt and this is a bag of stuff. I haven't done a what's in my bag for 2020 yet, so I figured this might be a good time to do just that, because let's face it, if you're into photography, yes, you like taking pictures, creating art, painting with light, that kind of thing, but, and we can admit this here, it's a safe space. We also like toys. Yeah, we do. We like the toys, we like the gadgets, we like the bags. I mean, I've got a loft full of bags. This is a Pelican Pelly case, and I've got like 4 of these in different sizes for different specific reasons. And so yeah, I thought I'd share with you today my what's in my bag daily carry work bag. This I'll do as 3 parts, a 3-stage video of, or 3 separate videos in fact, because I've got 3 separate everyday bag setups that I take on different occasions. This is my everyday work carry, and I'll talk about that in a second. I've got my YouTubing bag, which is a different setup entirely, and I've got my going out for a day just for fun with the family, just, you know, walking around bag, and that's utterly different as well. So without further ado, as I believe you have to say on the internet, let's look at what's in my bag. Now let's start with the bag itself. This is a Pelican or Pelly 1510. This is a great all-round bag because you can fit a lot of stuff in it, and it's also airline carry-on size. So if I'm flying to a job somewhere, I can put this in the overhead locker because I really don't want a small dog climbing up me. I normally work at the back of a car, so I've got this heavy box here. It doesn't matter, it's not particularly portable. I've got boxes of lights as well and light stands and things, so that's not really an issue. And if I'm working on location in someone's office, for example, doing commercial shoot, then again, it's not a really big deal because this has got wheels and I can tow it. If I'm going through an airport, again, I can just drag it behind me. I'm not going that far normally. This has a few other advantages as well. It's waterproof. I mean, it can stand literally underwater and the cameras will be fine. It's bash proof, so it can take a big old bump and the cameras will be fine. You can drive a car over it if you really want to. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can if you like. Because it's crush proof and strong, I don't have to carry a ladder everywhere. I can use this as a step to get a few inches of extra height to look down on things, which makes life much easier when I'm doing sort of stuff on location and I didn't have the ability to, or the space to carry a ladder with me. So it's got lots of uses. If I've got to do a bit of walking or a bit of trekking, I do have a low pro backpack as well, which takes the same amount of equipment, but it's a bit more cumbersome than this, which is quite slimline and quite smooth. And let's face it, Pellies look cool. There you have it. Every photographer does love a few flight cases because it looks like you're going exciting places with your stuff. And this has been to exciting places, but it's not a story for today. That's a story for another day. Also, another great thing of these is you can actually padlock your bag shut. So if you are in an area where you may get robbed, you can padlock the lid tightly shut, and you can padlock it to a sturdy location. So if you're leaving your stuff in a hotel room, you can padlock it to the wall or a desk or a bed or something. So you've got some level of protection, more than with a soft bag with this thing, which makes it a good work bag. Now opening up the box of delights, we've got plenty of stuff in here. On the bottom, obviously got cameras, lenses, flash stuff, that kind of thing. And on the top, all the accessories. This netted mesh thing is really handy because it means I can carry all my bits and pieces around that are going to come in handy on a shoot. And if I've not got my other bags with me, I can put a fair few bits and bobs in here that are going to be the essentials. Now, first of all, we've got our filters in this top 2 sections. These Lee filters are fantastic. So we've got a few filters there, filter holders. Down here, got a few more as well. So first of all, we've got the Lee adapter. Now all of these lenses, apart from one, have a 77mm screw thread for the filter, which means I only need to carry 1 adapter. They do all have a filter on there as standard anyway, or for my standard I should say, but this will screw onto the front of that filter, or I can take the filter off should I need it. And then I've got the holder, and then of course a few filters, just regular ones which I don't use that much but do sometimes. A blue sky graduated, a darker blue sky, and a very dark blue sky. I don't use them a lot. I don't like fake blue skies, but sometimes if you've got just a grey flat nothing sky, you can just drop that in and it gives you a little tiny bit more interest in the back of the shot, makes it look a bit more summery. Now this one is more frequently used. This is just a standard graduated grey tint, 30% 0.30 half grad. So I don't know if you can see this against a lighter background. There you go. So This is really, really useful. If you've got a bright sky, a darker foreground, you can balance the two and get a more natural look so the sky isn't burnt out or the foreground isn't underexposed. It's a really useful thing and it gets used quite a lot more than the other filters in the collection. And of course the third one, I'll call those three a one. This is a big stopper, a Lee big stopper. This is a filter which is actually quite an expensive bit of glass. It's about 100 and something pounds for this little tea coaster. This you cannot see through unless you hold it up to a bright light. And the idea of this is if you want a very long exposure, like several seconds or more, you can put this on the lens and it just knocks out so many stops of light. This is a 10 stopper in fact. So if you think how many seconds more you can add to your exposure. So if you're doing like waves crashing, sky blurring, or the thing I tend to use it most for is rig shots on cars, which is something I'll talk about in another video because it's a way of getting an action shot of a car when you can't really move the car very far. You definitely will have seen it in magazines, possibly on TV, definitely in adverts. And I'll talk you through it another day, but that's what this is for. And that's all the Lee filters that live in this half of the bag. Then we have something I've mentioned before, haven't talked through it yet. This is my everyday carry emergency pouch. I'll do a separate video all about this. This is a really useful thing which I transfer from bag to bag to bag wherever I'm going. It's got a bit of everything in it. Little pouch on the front with business cards and other things I'll just slide in there on the day. Normally that pen would be in here as well. But I've got all my emergency stuff, my utilities, little knife, UV stuff so I don't get burnt lips in the sunshine, marker pens. I'll talk you through all of this another day. This is all the essential emergency stuff to keep you out of trouble on a shoot, or in general day-to-day life, to be honest. That is something that's worth not leaving the house without. That's a very useful thing indeed. It will get its own video. Then just more gubbins, lens caps, back caps. You can't have enough of these things when you're changing lenses around the place. Little stands for standing flash guns on, because I use a lot of flash and I'm always hiding flash guns in funny places, under things, behind things. So a few of these little feet to rest flash guns on come in very handy indeed. And of course sync cables for connecting flash and camera releases to the cameras, and normally some more batteries in this. I've only got 2 in here, the rest are all on charge, but lots of AA's because these flash guns get through them quite a lot. These aren't my main flash guns, but I do use them a bit, and when you do use them, they get through them fast. And the final little pouch is actually a little bit empty today. Some more lens caps. This is a super useful accessory. It doesn't look very exciting, but it's one of the most useful things I have in my bag. This is a flash extension cable. Without the aid of any wireless stuff, no triggers, no complications, just a nice, simple wire. And sometimes you really appreciate simple stuff that just works. That plugs in the hot shoe, that can go any place else you want it to. There's a screw thread in the bottom so you can screw it onto a light mount if you want, or just hold it or get a friend to hold it if you're with someone else, and suddenly you've got instant control of your flash and so much more creativity with just a bit of wire. I love this thing. I nearly lost it when my gear got stolen at the back of a car a couple of years ago. And I thought I'd never see it again. And I was Googling, eBaying, trying to find one of these. This exact model is a Nikon SC17. They don't make it anymore. And I couldn't find it. But then one of my bags turned up. The thieves had left it hidden in a hedge and someone found it. And I got back a couple of flash guns, or Mellencrom Ranger flash guns in fact, which are quite expensive. I assume there are replacements these days, but I've had this for years and years, and it's just one of the things I really like having around. It's just a nice simple accessory that makes life better really. Now the exciting part, the bottom of the bag. This is the bit you've all been waiting for, right? When I'm working, I always take 2 bodies with me at the very least really, and there's 2 reasons for this. First of all, it means I've got a backup. If one camera dies, I've got a second body, so I'm not looking like an idiot on a shoot who can't finish doing his job. The other reason is, every time you change the lens on a digital camera, you get a little bit of dust on the sensor, and the more lenses you change, the more dust you get and the worse the pictures look. So having two bodies means I can have two different lenses permanently mounted, or semi-permanently mounted, and I get less dust on my sensors and I don't have to clean them so often. I've got 4 lenses in here as well, because I try and cover everything I'm likely to use on a day-to-day basis. So I've got a telephoto, a medium range and a wide angle, plus one more. The good old 50mm f1.4. These are one of my favourite lenses. They're not the most expensive lenses in the world, but they are one of the most useful, and being 1.4 you can make some amazing detail shots, just finding the shallow depth of field, picking out that detail you want in a photo, make it happen. And this is an old D series one as well, so it's not the latest and greatest and most expensive. I think I paid just over £100 for this. They're not expensive lenses, especially if you go back a generation or two. I actually went for the D series because it's got the mechanical physical aperture ring, which means I can use it on adapter rings with other camera systems. I've got a Fuji camera system as well, which means I can use this on a Metabones adapter, and so I can use this with Nikon and Fuji, which makes it very useful indeed. While I'm here talking about this one lens, I'll also mention the filter that's on this. This is a Hoya Slim Circular Polarizer. I've got one of these on every single one of my lenses, largely because most of the work I do is with cars, and it makes life so much better, or makes the pictures so much better, because you can absolutely transform the reflections, the colour, make them absolutely pop by turning the little circular polarizer. If you're shooting anything with glass, water, even just landscapes, a polarizer does make a big difference. And so I don't use a skylight or a UV filter as a protection on any of my lenses. I just always have a polarizer on there. The only downside to that is it does knock about half a stop of light off, so if you're shooting in a dark situation it can sometimes push your shutter speed down a little lower than you'd want to. But yeah, that is the 50mm, which is a great stalwart of every bag. Again, worth a video in its own right one day. Now, I did have 3 flash guns in here because that gives you so much control. You can have them anywhere within quite a wide range, and so you can really control the light. You can have a key light on the front, a fill light on the side, a kicker light on the back. They're not big, they don't take a lot of space in the bag, they're worth having. These are both SB910s, they're Nikon speed lights. They are very good indeed, they're very powerful and they've got a good recharge. They last a long time on AA batteries too. I did have 2 of these and an SB800. Unfortunately the 800 just seems to have died recently, so it's waiting to be replaced. I will replace it soon, but for the meantime there's a gap in the bag, but that's proving useful for something else. I also do have these little soften boxes as well, so if you're shooting a portrait it does make it just a little bit nicer. More accessories. I shoot with Elinchrom Rangers Quadras quite a lot, in fact quite a lot, almost all the time, and these, one for each camera, are Skyport triggers. They are very useful indeed. And the new Ranger system has, well, not that new anymore, has receivers built in, so you don't have to carry a receiver anymore, just have to pop this in the hot shoe. Instant flash triggering with your Ranger Studio Flash, which is marvellous. But I have tried so many different triggering systems to make my Nikon flash guns work remotely from the camera. I tried Pocket Wizards, but they gave me loads of trouble, so I gave up on them. I tried Hanels, which are an Italian brand. They're very good, but after a while they kind of stopped syncing properly, so I gave up on them. And then Elinchrom, they came to my rescue with these Elinchrom Skyport receivers, which have got hot shoes on them, so I can plug any flash gun, whether it's a Nikon, a Canon, a Yongo or some other sort of non-brand make, on top of there. Wake that up, wake that up. They sync instantly, and the moment they're together, whoops, it flashes. Fantastic. Stick it on the camera, hit the button, it goes off every time. It never fails unless the battery's flat. Now I've got to give it some, caveat there. So I have 2 of these in the bag all the time, so I can fire my Nikon flash guns remotely whenever I want. A really, really, really useful accessory. I love these things. But I didn't throw the Hanels away, because the Hanels also work in reverse. Now, using this little wire here, which I pulled out the bag earlier, and they will trigger the camera. So if I need a remote camera trigger, it gives me an option. I've got a few different options for doing everything, because like with having 2 cameras and not wanting to get caught short on a job looking like a fool, I've got multiple ways of doing literally everything. I've got a Nikon remote release, an infrared remote release, which is in another bag. I've got this one here, so I can remote release this way. And also, with the newer cameras, I can do through the Nikon app on the phone as well. So always got a different way of doing everything, so you're never ever stuck if one system fails. Now the stuff you've been waiting for, let's talk about cameras and lenses. Now, the first one, the big one of these lenses, this is a Nikon 70-200 f2.8. This is the generation that just went. I think they keep updating it quite fast. The AFS Nikkor FL-ED. This is one of the best pieces of glass you're ever likely to come across. It's astonishingly sharp. I mean, literally razor sharp. You can cut yourself on this thing. It's a little bit big and a little bit heavy, but it's the price you pay for being extremely fast lens. It's f2.8 all the way through. The focusing is rapider than you can believe. It's got vibration reduction built into it in different modes, normal and sport, depending on how you're working and what you're taking photos of. It's not a cheap bit of glass, but every photographer should have a 70-200 and ideally an f2.8 or at the very least an f4 in their bag. It just opens up so many possibilities. There's so much you can do with these things. Everything from portraits to landscapes. There is always a use for one of these. I cannot sing their praises enough. There are 3 focal lengths every photographer should have in their bag: the 70-200, a 24-70 or similar, and a 17-35 kind of equivalent. And those 3 lenses will cover you in every single situation. Reportage, wedding, journalists, my sort of commercial work, these 3 lenses cover 90% of the work I do. I've got other lenses tucked away which get pulled out on different occasions, but they are very, very rare and far between compared to what I carry in this bag on a day-to-day basis. Now the cameras. This is my main camera, the one I use on almost every job situation, a Nikon D5. Now apparently they've just replaced it, or are replacing it as we speak, with the D6, which I'll be honest, I'm not excited about. I was in a similar situation when I had the D3X and they brought out the D4, and there just wasn't enough of an increment to jump up to the D4 because it did everything so similar. Nikon are very kind of good / bad for this. They move their systems on very, very gently, and the D6 just doesn't bring anything to the party that makes me think I want to drop £5,000 or £6,000 on a new camera over this one, which is perfectly good still. It's only 24 megapixel, but that is more than enough. Hold on a second, I'll grab something. So, ran out of frame for a second just to grab this, just to show you an idea of the quality of this camera. This magazine cover was shot on this 24 megapixel camera. You don't need a lot more than that. This double page spread was shot on this 24 megapixel camera. This is in the shops right now if you're interested in American cars. So the quality is just fantastic. The advantage of this camera is it focuses so fast, it acquires focus so fast, quicker than almost any camera I think I've ever used. Certainly it's faster than the Nikon Z cameras, it's faster than any mirrorless system I've used. It's on a par with any Canon you come across. It's fabulous. The frame rate on this thing, if you're shooting action, is just insane. That's just ridiculous. You can't outrun it. And because it shoots to twin cards, they are insanely fast as well. You literally can't shoot fast enough to fill the cards and kill the buffer. This camera does everything I want beautifully. The only thing that does make it awkward to carry in some situations is the fact it's quite big and quite heavy. But that's the only drawback, but it is a full-size professional camera, so it's going to be this kind of form factor. That one drawback doesn't outweigh the many, many, many positives of this thing. I mean, the battery on it is a big battery. This is one of the things that you will never run flat. You can shoot for several days on a single charge. If you're going on a long trip, a weekend away, even a week away, you probably don't even need to bother taking the charger with you because it just goes on forever. It's fantastic. The screen is big and bright and clear, and it's a touch screen too. So yes, this is a fabulous camera. I won't replace this with a mirrorless or anything else for the time being because there's nothing else to match it in terms of what I want from it. I use it for most of my pictures because it's just such a nice thing that it fits in your hand perfectly. And we're doing action shots, it grabs focus, it works quicker than anything else, so I'm virtually guaranteed a pin sharp shot every time on an action photo. I love this camera. Brilliant bit of kit. It's expensive and it's cumbersome, but as a professional tool it is unparalleled. Now the lens that's welded to the front of this for the majority of the time is maybe a surprise, as it's not necessarily as professional as the body. Nikon AFS Nikkor 24-120 f4, and this is one of the G lenses, which means there's no aperture ring on the thing. Now I've actually had 2 or 3 of these because they do wear out after a little while, but that's only if you're giving them pretty intense use. They're not built as tough as the full-on f2.8 range of full pro lenses, but it's a really useful range. Just having that little bit of extra bond beyond from the 70 to the 120 means that you don't have to change the lens quite so often. There's a little bit of distortion in some of the photos, but Photoshop can take it out quite easily. And if you look at the top of this lens, you can sort of see how used it is. The gold is virtually gone in the middle of it. It's polished, smooth, really good all-rounder. You don't have to change the lenses on a day out. If you want to take one lens with you on holiday, this is the lens, because it's wide angle, it's telephoto, it's fairly fast, and it's got VR built into it. So again, it's a great all-round lens that does most things that I want it to do really easily. This is kind of the key to all my everyday work stuff. I want everything to do everything. Covering all bases, making everything an easy day. Now this is my second body, the D750. It's virtually the same technology, but not quite, if that makes sense. It doesn't buffer quite as fast, it can't motor drive quite as fast, it doesn't grab focus quite as fast. It's like 90% of this, but with the same image quality. So it's a great thing to have. This may be the last time it sits as a permanent addition in this bag, because the camera you're watching on right now, the Nikon Z6, is an occasional interloper into this bag, which is why I also carry the FTZ adapter in here, in the space that the old SB800 used to sit in. This is the one that means the Z cameras can use the F glass. So that sits in here for the time being, because in low light situations the Z6 is a bit better with its built-in image stabilization. I find that's a nice camera to use in the dark. But anyway, for the moment the D750 is still a regular fixture in here, and attached to it is the 16 to 35 f4 G series, so the same range as the 24-120. I did previously have the 17-35 f2.8, but I actually find the 16 to 35 focuses a little bit faster, and I don't notice in many situations the lack of that f2.8. I mean, even as an f4, it is still a chunky bit of glass, but it's a bit lighter than the old f2.8 was. And unlike the 2.8, it does have VR built in as well. So all these lenses, apart from the 50mm, have got VR built in. I sort of think that when I'm using the Z camera, you get VR from the lens and the body, so you get 7 different stages of VR, so it's impossible to get shake at all. I might be wrong about this, I'm not quite sure. If I just want a light carry around, this body with this lens make a really nice universal, do everything quite small and light and discreet, should I want that kind of thing. Not quite as discreet as the Z6, which does sometimes, as I say, sit in this slot. And I'm in 2 minds about mirrorless cameras at the moment. I've been very impressed with the Z6, but the focus on it is nowhere near as good as the focus on this. If they could bring out a Z camera that could focus as fast as a D5, I would be a true mirrorless convert, but for the time being, I'm still with a foot in both camps. So this is my everyday work carry. This is the stuff I take with me every day when I go to a regular shoot for work. Plus, of course, my Elinchron lights and light stands and some tripods. So yeah, this is the camera part of that equation. So I hope you find this interesting. This is what a professional photographer carries in their bag. Lots and lots of stuff, really. Many items. Things that are obvious, things that maybe are less obvious. Did anything about this collection surprise you? Is there anything you think I should be carrying to work and you're surprised? The next 2 videos will be what I carry to YouTube and what I carry to just walk around on my day off. Yeah, you may well be interested in that as well. If you've enjoyed this, please hit like, please hit subscribe, share this on Facebook on photography groups, and I'll see you again very soon with more clickbait. Take care.